everybody. How is everybody doing? Welcome to Transgurus. So this week we have a poet among us, and she wrote a poem with the title "I Have to Believe." So we're gonna start by letting Raji, our Raji Nazionale, to recite the poem, and then we can all discuss about it, okay?
Yeah.
Raji,
Well, hi everybody. You know, I've always been a creative spirit, and oftentimes I use my poetry for thought-provoking, spiritual sort of statements, and also hoping to like impact the world in a positive, uplifting way. So recently, I was thinking about these times and how, like, for the most part, as a person, I try to keep myself on a high vibration, positive, and but there's times where it does feel challenging and like almost like, oh God, like I have to hold on to my belief that goodness will prevail. And so this is the poem that I wrote a couple days ago. I'm going to actually read it because I haven't memorized it fully yet, but I'm going to read it from my phone. So the poem is entitled I Have to Believe. A divine place for each soul on this earth, a sacred and precious and beautiful birth. Of stardust we're made, as science has told, from galaxies ancient and billions of years old. The earth spins and turns as seasons unfold. The moon pulls the tides, both mighty and cold. Look into the faces of people you're seeing and know that each one is a vibrational being. They say that the world has so much more time, but will we self destruct from hatred and crime? A thin, fragile line between hatred and love. The life that we have is the one we think of. The yin and the yang of the good and the bad, the choices we make, the sorrows we've had. From minds we can build or minds we can break, a future of wonder or sorrow we make. I have to believe that goodness is right, that we can choose love and walk in the light. Despite all our battles for freedom and worth, I have to believe of the goodness in earth. And so, I wrote that because I think everyone can relate. You may be going through a challenging time or dealing with hardship, and there's that thing in you that like says, "Oh no, no, no!" But I can get through this. I have to believe in better times. I have to believe in love. I have to believe in goodness. And so this is where uh, what inspired the poem that I wrote.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
So who wants
Thank you for letting me share.
who wants to go next?
I love what Roger's saying. It has to do with the balance of life.
Yes.
High tide, low tide, yin and yang.
Yes.
And I mentioned this in one of these other videos. There's a Jimmy Buffett song that's titled "He Went to Paris," and then the lyrics. One of the lyrics in the song is, "Life is some of it's magic, some of it's tragic." And what Raji's poem emphasizes the balance of life. You can't have magic without tragedy. We live in paradise here in South Florida, but yet you get a hurricane. This is the balance of life. As high as the tide goes is equally as low as it goes. And I'll inject my own little thought here. With all the, also what Raji's getting at is that we see what we look for. What we look for, we find. What we look for are, and also too now, our belief system, what our brain will sift through information and cherry pick information that supports our current belief system. So you have to remember that when trying to learn new things, is that be receptive to new ideas and new information, because our brain is going to cherry pick information to support our current beliefs. And so the as much as far as the pendulum swings one way, it'll equally swing the other way. Ella.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. Bobby.
Oh, I just love everything behind your poem, Raji.
Thank you.
And Jimmy pointed out, you know, the balance with the tides and the yin and the yang, and the tragic and the magic, and all of those things are at play. I think the thing that I appreciated the most was your reminder that we all are created from stardust. We all have been given the opportunity of life on this planet, and you called us vibrational beings, and that is just such ancient wisdom. But hardly anybody sees that anymore, and I think that is part of the problem because. Um, And oh my gosh, you can just have a whole library full of books on philosophy about why we don't live in the world that we're capable of living in, and what's happened, and what are all the things at play. And when it all comes down to it, it's we create our own reality, and I believe you mentioned that in your poem. There's something about what we think is how we live, and along those lines. And there's so much wisdom in there for everybody, and I just love that. And I think about that decision to believe in the goodness of the earth. We we hit all around that, like. Um, um, I know last week I mentioned something Jimmy had said like a month before about living in a friendly universe or an unfriendly universe, and those sorts of things. And if you're someone that has determined that you're going to believe in goodness, you've already made a decision that you live in a friendly universe, and it's okay to believe in goodness. And I think about um, people that don't want to believe that, and what has happened to them along the way to convince them that no, we don't live in a friendly world, and I need to do all of this and this. And again, Jimmy is right, is uh, when you make that kind of decision, your subconscious in your brain automatically starts looking for evidence to support that decision. And so, if you believe we live in a mean world, you're going to see all day long evidence of a mean world. And if you believe that we live in a friendly world, we're immersed in a friendly world. And that's something that I have come to believe. But where we get weirded out in the transgender world is because of the fear so many of us have to carry around. And the reason that we have that much fear is because there are people that would want to punish us or do us harm or ostracize us or make us outcast. And you know, there's a lot of stuff that's involved in fear, and it really is a battle inside, I think, a trans person, because deep inside you know who you are. You know that's coming from a place of love and self-love, and you long to live that life. But there's all this fear for a lot of people about what would happen to them if they actually did that. And so many of us just stay stuck. And and it's funny, you can't really internalize what a good world we live in until you push through that comfort zone and get to the other side of it. Because, when you're living in the comfort zone, you really are kind of stuck there. And you can't really discover what a good, rich, abundant world we live in until you step out of that. Now, if you step out of it believing that you live in a good world, then you'll see the evidence to support that. And so there's that dynamic going on all around. And it's just unfortunate that the truth of what you were saying um, can't be realized by most people until they push through all of that fear and doubt and all of that other stuff that we've been conditioned to believe and realize that what was this? The little saying is, um, you will not really be free until you realize that the cage is made of your thoughts. and and it's just working through all of that stuff, and you've discovered that, and you can believe in the goodness of people, and you can see it every day, and you can love your life, and you can love your neighbors, and you can be so involved in making good things happen all over your community. And we've discovered that, but I don't want to pretend like it's easy. You can believe in the good, you can feel it so deeply, but there's some scary stuff you have to kind of push yourself through to really discover how true that is, and how that's the type of soul you have to be if you want to live in a world that's full of goodness. And you have to live good in that world. So, anyhow, back to you, Ellen.
I have to say that I really liked your poem.
Thank you.
I really like the positiveness. And when you say that I have to believe that goodness is light, I think that is one of the most important things. I mean, it is really the basis of life. And, you know, um, we all live uncertainty. We all live sometimes in places where we have to get out of. And it is in the belief of light and goodness that will bring us to have a wonderful life and to have a positive life. And this is like I think we all say the same thing, but this is so important in life. Think positive. Yeah. I have to tell, in my life, I had my internal fights because um, what I looked like was not exactly what I felt like. And it took me a long time to embrace that. But yeah, I did embrace it, and I'm living now in a world which I feel happy with. I feel congruent with it. Everything is perfectly all right. But it's really a lot of inner strength that we have to develop to live, to go and into our beliefs and understand them. It's, as we usually tell here, it's your inside uh, talk, everything which is inside of you, which has to come out. And then you feel in a good environment because you feel that you are in the right place. Yeah. But life is as we already told before, it's composed of negative and positive, and the pendulum is always going to one side to the other, and we have to embrace our pendulum. We have to embrace our life. We have to embrace our feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when you all talked about, it was Bobby, I think, that touched on it. And even Ellie, you're talking a bit about, all of you actually, Jimmy too. I have been in despair. Like there's been moments throughout my life where I truly have felt despair because of the hardships, the challenges, the way people oftentimes view someone like me and us in negative ways. And like in moments, there were moments where I would say, "Oh my God, I can't believe people don't see my light. I'm being so nice. I'm being so loving. I'm smiling. And it's like you see what you choose to see. It's kind of like the glass half empty or the glass half full. And how do you view it and perceive it? But I say all of that to say I stood my ground. I stood strong in knowing that who I am is a person that is supposed to be here. I was born into life. I have a birthright to be here. I have something to contribute to the world just like everyone else. And I've held on to that belief despite all the naysayers. And in moments of despair, I find anyone can probably relate to this. And I have to say, I find it helpful to, even when I have some doubt, to declare it, Like with that poem, I declared that, I have to believe in the goodness, of the earth. And I declared it, even in a moment of feeling a bit anxiety over like a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world. And when I go out now, I feel like like there's a lot more negativity coming at me, all of that. But I still sat down and I wrote a poem about love and light, and how there is a yin and a yang, and how the way we think is what we create, all of that. But in the end, I wanted to declare that I still have to believe, despite all the chaos and the quote unquote negativity, I still have to believe in goodness and positivity, and and that there's goodness will win over evil.
Yes,
Goodness will prevail over evil. It's
absolutely.
not easy, but we can declare it. We can declare it. And I believe that our words, our thoughts, our words, our actions, they're all powerful. And so despite whatever situation you are facing in that moment, you can declare for yourself what it is that you want. And I've seen it over and over again. The universe will come through. The universe will come through.
Absolutely. Jimmy, would you like to carry on?
No, I like what everyone's saying. The bottom line is the power of belief. And I know so uh Bobby was saying that some people experience fear in their life. So I would say every category of human, every walk of life, every human experiences some fear at some time.
Mm-hmm.
And how you overcome fear is by facing it.
Yep.
And so we were talking about, Ella was talking about inner strength. So external strength, your physical body, you build by working your muscles, resistive training, exercise. How do we build inner strength? By putting ourselves in a position that we have to rely on our strength to succeed or to overcome or to survive. That's how you build your inner strength. Step outside your comfort zone often, and
Yep.
your comfort zone will grow in proportion to our internal strength. So I know my life. I'm 6'1", 190 pounds. I'm a good sized human being. I'm very physically fit, and I know I'm like my own bodyguard. I'm my own bodyguard. A lot of people don't have the physical presence, so you need to substitute that with mental presence, aura. be so centered that our aura cloaks us with goodness. You know, there's a way to live your life that we don't find ourselves in little predicaments, little pickles. You know, you live your life in such a way that you rarely find yourself in a pickle. And if we think that we're going to be have an issue when we go somewhere, well, you're probably going to have an issue.
Sure.
But one of it, I think maybe it was Raji or someone went somewhere and turned a negative. Like I guess you were at the store,
Yeah.
and 20 people were looking at you cross-eyed, and you engaged one person, and all of a sudden, those other 20 people saw that you were actually an angel.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
that's how we can create our own circumstances around us.
Yeah.
So fear is just a part of life. Just because you're a trans person experiencing fear, don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger. Everyone does.
Yeah.
You know, everyone experiences fear of doing something for the first time. I remember when my daughter was going to elementary school, and how intimidating the campus was, and then middle school, how intimidating that campus was, and then high school, and then Auburn University's the whole town. Your comfort grows accordingly to the environment that we place ourselves in. Step outside your comfort zone. Often, you'll grow.
Yeah.
Ella.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Bobby.
well, I'm so glad you brought that up, Jimmy, because you're exactly right. Fear is normal, especially in the transgender community. If you're afraid of something, it's like, welcome to the club. That's normal. What you do about that fear, that's what our life is all about. And as you were talking, Jimmy, I realized you don't push through your fear. You don't do what you believe is the right thing unless you believe in the goodness of your cause. It's the only motivation. It's like, I cannot keep living this way. I've got to start living this way. That's right. That's good. And you believe in that to the point where you make the decision that it's time to push through your fear. And then that opens up love in your life. That opens up a whole new channel of that. And you know, the older I get, the more I believe that love is the purest form of energy in the universe, and it's energy like light and sound and heat. It's like microwave. It's energy with intention and purpose, and and um and and we have the choice whether we want to live a life of love or we want to live a life of darkness. And and it's all of that stuff, believing in the right, believing that's why I'm here, believing that my life is love is life, and coming to those decisions, those really are, that's your legacy, that's who you become. And I was just thinking right now that believing in goodness, it was just a little over 2 years ago, 2023, and the same thing was going on in Florida. Um, you all had created a place where transgender people could thrive. You had medical, mental health, all these auxiliary kind of services going on. You had community acceptance and ordinances that protected you, and all of these things. We all did, and we have devoted ourselves to building communities and states where we could thrive. And then somebody decided, oh well, we'll turn this into a red meat political thing and make that all go away. And so they did. They did it in your state. They did it in my state. But yesterday, I was meeting with, and I'm on the board of directors, and I'm real plugged in to political advocacy, yesterday I was meeting with a lobbyist from the ACLU and another human rights group, and it's like, we do that because we believe that we can restore that what we built was good and it needed to be here and it's goodness, and so we're strategizing about who's thinking about introducing what bill, what committee is it going to start in, who do we know, how, where do we intercept things, and and it's really like political warfare, but it's all done in the spirit of love, and it's all done with believing in the goodness of what we created and how everybody needs to have community where they feel safe and seen. And so uh, I guess that's what I wanted to just be sure to interject is that the belief in goodness also needs to translate into action. You
Yes,
know, you have to put some effort in behind that. That's how you demonstrate your belief in goodness. So back to you, Ella.
absolutely. I do agree with you. I think that one thing is very important is that, um, you know, I have to believe, and I mean, for me, it's very important. Believe in the good things, make the actions for the good things,
Mhm.
and of course, follow your fears. Because that's what was Jim was telling. Because I think that follow fears is the way to grow. It's the way to grow. I mean, when I was young, I was really scared of flying, and then what I did, I learned how to fly. And that's how I followed my fear. And it really helped me because believe me, I fly a lot. But I learned how to fly because, and now I'm not scared of flying. And by the way, I had two accidents, two airplane accidents. And I still survived. But um, follow your fears and believe. You know, everybody, as we were already told, and Jimmy told as well, everybody's got their fears and their anxiety, and it's nothing to do only with transgender people. It's to do with every single person in the planet. And I think that if you start believing in start believing in yourself and what your own intimate feelings, you can overcome that pretty nicely. At least that is my story. And I think that it's the story of many people, not only in the transgender community,
Mm,
everywhere.
yeah.
So let's,
We're coming up on 30 minutes, Ella.
yeah, let's go for the last round.
Okay, so for me, I oftentimes listen to someone called Esther Hicks, and she channels Abraham, which is a spirit guide or spirit guides. I always say if you can't get into that whole thing of channeling, don't even think about that. Just listen to the messages that she delivers. They're just awesome. So I listen to her a lot, and she talks about something called contrast. And we just finished talking about like the fears we have, the negative things that happen against us, um, the anxiety, the depression, all of the quote unquote negativity that we as human beings deal with. And maybe some of us trans people have a little more than like the quote unquote average person, but we all deal with it. Okay. She talks about how contrast is actually a blessing because it makes you know what you really want. It's like the thing that sparks. It's almost like the match that it ignites. Like when you are dealing with something that you don't like, it is an opportunity to realize, wait a minute, this isn't an experience that I like or want, and then focus on and create the experience that you do want. So all this negative stuff, contrast is what Esther Hicks Abraham calls it, can be a blessing. It can be a blessing because you can use it as a motivator to create the lives that you want, to be that dynamic, individual, and live the magic that you really desire. And that's for everyone, transgender or other.
Absolutely.
So I'll say this in closing. I talked about how sometimes I had moments where, like, I'm being nice, I'm smiling, I'm, friendly, and I'm like, why can't they see my light? And I had said that to a friend of mine once, and she turned to me and she says, "Oh, Raji, they see your light. Oh, they see it. They can't take it. They can't take it, but they see it." And you know what I told her? I said, "Well, then tell them to put sunglasses on, put the shades on." And I say that to say, don't you let anyone dim your light. If they can't take the light, then they need to put some shades on, some sunglasses on.
Absolutely. Jimmy, your last words.
The principle of power of belief is the mechanism that allows all these things that we're talking about to be possible. So our degree of belief in these principles that we're talking about is directly proportional to how they influence the reality that we're actually able to manifest ourselves. So all this is just words unless you believe that it applies to you and me and everyone. We all have the ability to manifest our own reality through thoughts and belief. And the degree of these thoughts and belief are directly proportional to the influence that our thoughts and belief have on our reality. Ella.
Okay. Bobby?
And you all are so good. I really don't need to add anything because you've done it all. The power of the belief. We uh, I keep coming back because that the belief in goodness is what powers us through our fears. And we know, in case nobody's ever broken it down to you, transition in our world will test the integrity of every single one of your relationships, every single one.
Yeah.
And that is also a test in your belief in goodness. There's no way you can find that out without doing it. And the glory of it all is your belief in goodness will be rewarded. That's what's so hard to see when you're on the other side, still kind of paralyzed. And I just I'm so glad I pushed through that. I'm so glad because the voice inside of us that's telling us this is who you are, this is who you need to be, that is coming from a place of pure goodness. And you can't deny, and if you deny it, oh my God, what you have wasted that chance you had to vibrate on this earth. So back to you, Ella.
So we had a wonderful, we think a really wonderful show tonight. I would just like to, with all my heart, and I think all our hearts, to tell thank you very much, Raji, for sharing your poem, which is so beautiful, and to share it with a hell of a lot of people outside. We are getting more and more subscribers, and thank you for sharing. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week. We'll see you next week. Bye,
Yay.
everybody.
Love, peace, and blessings.
Yes.
Namaste.